is the Orange Zone, sponsored by Apex Entertainment.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Orange Zone podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. We have former SU basketball legend Lawrence Moten. I'm Samantha Croston. Thanks so much for joining us. We're here to talk some hoops. Syracuse men's basketball, 8-8. They just had two big, very much needed wins. How we feeling, Ashley? We'll start with you.
Yeah, it's basketball season. Hello, everyone. We're taking a little pivot on the Orange Zone from football. Not going to lie to you all. Not going to lie. We're just going to put it out in the open. We did actually record our first basketball episode last week with Moten, and the entire recording got deleted. It's happened a few times on this podcast. We're going to move right on past it. But I will say, that leads me into that episode had, I think, a very... not very different, but it had an overarching tone that's been made a little better by the two wins in the last week. Got two conference wins, 2 in a row. Louisville comes to town tonight. We'll probably be putting this episode out right around when that game begins. So don't know the results of the Louisville game yet. Of course, they've won 6 straight. But Moten, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, Ashley. I really feel like, 8-8. You know, it was tough, like you said, about a week ago when we were 6-8, but now we've won 2 games. Guys are starting to gel a little bit and try to play a little harder, and we've had 2 great wins in the ACC, which we didn't have a week ago.
And just to say it, because we did lose that last episode, which was a heater for the record.
It was great. It really was.
How were you feeling then, a week ago?
A week ago, I wasn't feeling good. If you want to be honest, 6-8 was not a good record, and an uncalled for record that we're not used to up in upstate New York. I did some history, and I think I saw something where at the time we were 6-8, that was one of the worst records in Syracuse basketball history. So we're back on the right track now, Sam, and I'm looking forward to another victory.
Last week, you mentioned chemistry as a big part of what could be a team's success or failure. What did you mean by that?
Well, I meant when, guys are not playing together, guys are being selfish, it shows. And I think at the time we were 6-8, it showed. There was a lackluster effort, and guys weren't giving their all. But these last 2 games, I can honestly say I do see a little change in the energy and the effort, which is needed in basketball and in all the sports. And we've won 2 ACC games. Louisville is going to be a great test, but I think if we do what we have to do, we should come out victorious. I know it's hard to say, but in order to learn how to win games, you have to win games at home first.
I mean, that's absolutely right. He wasn't the only one who saw the chemistry element of what was going wrong with that team.
Sure.
You did too.
Yes. And I think that was part of the discussion that we had last week, that in Autry's second season, this is kind of the second year, right? Moten, you were saying that you feel like it's less of a talent issue than it is a chemistry issue and a gelling issue. And this is sort of the second year that's happened when you consider that last year the team does win 20 games, doesn't quite fit the orange standard, doesn't make the NCAA tournament, but they still have issues with Benny Williams getting essentially kicked off the team. Judah Mintz, there were some rumblings. Quadir Copeland, a lot of transfers in the offseason, all that. So when you consider all that, it's kind of the second year of, I guess, chemistry issue rumblings. Have you seen enough, considering Georgia Tech and Boston College, 2 teams that really aren't at the top of the ACC standings, for you to feel a little bit better about this team's trajectory moving forward?
Yeah, I'm going to stay positive. I do. I feel like each game we should get better. But back to the chemistry and also recruiting. I'm going to go off the limb and say, you have to know how to recruit. And we're not only just recruiting this, it's recruiting guys that fit your style of play and the team style of play. And I think that's a little off right now. And hopefully in the future, things will get better.
Yeah, I mean, that is the hope. And listen, I'm also a big, Ashley knows this, but I always say hope is not a strategy. I know that you're a big Autry supporter, and I completely understand why. At the same time, there is a part of me that thinks, well, if this is the second year of chemistry-related issues, which is something that is totally within the team, then if it's not, Autry's not necessarily fault, but on him to fix it, then who else is it on? Like, I think he does need to take some accountability to fix those kinds of issues. And I know that he dealt with a lot more BS in his first year than probably some other first-year head coaches did.
Right.
In a way, I felt like he got sort of a bad draw with some of the things that happened. But every team has that. I mean, honestly, Syracuse football did too. Like, you think, look, Quinn Allen a few years ago, look where he is now.
Right.
Compared to some of the stuff that he got into a couple of years ago. Someone needs to show these young men the way. And I do think that the onus falls partially on him to do that.
Yeah, related or not related, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't point out, right? Fran Brown football, that's a whole different ball game, but I think you can just see what a head coach has done in his first year, and I guess bringing in that chemistry and bringing in that culture standpoint. I feel as though Autry is still looking for his identity and his culture within his team, because he brings up the orange standard a lot, and I don't think we really know what the orange standard is.
That's exactly right, Ashley. He's still trying to figure that out. Second year. We have to give him time. I tell people all the time when it comes to coaching, 3 to 5 years is the max of you knowing what's going on and you doing it your way, you bringing in your players, you're bringing in your coaching staff, all of that stuff comes into play. So this is his second year. He should take a lot of onus to what's going on, because at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, teams play to the style of their coach. If you have a fiery coach, you're going to have a fiery team. If you have a laid-back coach, pretty much going to have a laid-back team. And I've always thought like that. And hopefully he can figure out what he wants and his way, the Red Autry way, and just know that we're here to support him.
Yeah, I see both sides of the coin with that, definitely, because I completely understand why fans are so impatient. To me, it seems premature, right, to even be having these discussions. It's his second year. His second year's not even done. But I also know the standard of Syracuse basketball from years past. I get why fans are impatient. At the same time, you brought up recruiting. He's shown that he can recruit. The class coming in next year, top 10 class in the country, Kyan Anthony, Sadiq White, a kid from Australia. That is a really impressive recruiting class that they can't afford to lose. And that is a credit to him and his coaching staff. We've seen the
and
recruiting.
Potentially some others. Like, I do wonder, I don't know this for sure, but like, was Autry the only one involved in, let's say, like a Kyan Anthony recruiting, or were there other people who were involved in that process? I don't know, but I think it is worth bringing up. Like, I think there were other people who were involved in that. However, you do wonder, like, is let's just say, and I know, like we all said, it was a little too premature, but like, is Kyan only going to come here if Autry is the head coach? Because honestly, I think that would make a big difference for the fans and even John Wildhack in those decisions, because it is a big recruiting class and Anthony's a big part of that, no?
Absolutely. First and foremost, the reason why, please believe there are other people making decisions on Kyan Anthony's decision and everything, and the number one guy is his father.
Yeah,
let's keep it real. Melo did great things for this university. He brought us a title. He's a great guy. And just all around a winner, and that's what you want. To be a part of, and to have your son playing for a team that a school and a team that you went to is just amazing. I hope great things for Kyan, and like I said, Adrian will be under the microscope, which all coaches are. One of the things I've learned about this business is it's all about now. They don't want to know what you're going to do tomorrow or the next day. They want to see wins now.
And I understand that completely from the fan perspective. I also get what you're saying. Like, when I hear him say 3 to 5 years, I don't think that is so crazy in a way, to think that a coach would need a couple of years to be able to develop chemistry and figure out the identity of the team and maybe even his own coaching style.
Exactly.
It is different because he was an assistant. Now he's a head coach. And this is no disrespect to Autry, but something that Ashley and I talked about last week that I do find fascinating is when we talk about the recruiting, I think a big reason why Syracuse Athletics always picks people who were involved with the program or affiliated with Syracuse is potentially because of the recruiting. But Fran Brown has turned out to be an incredible recruiter, and he didn't go to Syracuse at all. He came over from Georgia. That being said, I don't think you always need to follow the orange brick road. I think it is fair to have a national search, to look beyond the walls of Syracuse University and see who else is out there. Again, that's not me pushing Autry out the door. That's me speaking generally, that there are sometimes other options and other places that you can look to find coaches who are qualified. But this is the route that they chose to go. I think that Autry still has the support, certainly of a lot of the alumni from what you tell me and what you say, you know?
Absolutely.
And that part's important, I think, you know?
Yes.
That he has the support from all of you.
Oh, it's very important that he gets the support from us, you know, that we let him know, you know, that we're here to support him as far as the good and the bad. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, now that I'm an older man, I see the trajectory of reporting and social media and how things are. You know, people are going to say what they want to say, and it's just the reality of life, and you just got to speak your mind and say how you feel and take it as it comes. But the key is to not let it deter you from doing your job and doing what you have to do, because sometimes, you know, you have people that listen to the media and it affects them. I was never one like that. I was always straightforward.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yes, I am. Straightforward and just did what I had to do and let my game do the talking.
And we've heard the players, I think, speak pretty candidly on the social media aspect of things and how that kind of crowds and corrupts their brain. J.J. Starling was talking about it after the Georgia Tech game, that he really honestly has not been on social media lately because it's not good for him, and why would he want to? And he also said after that game that they knew in the ACC that they needed one. And you know what? He said that, and then they won on the road at Boston College. So maybe it is the start of a little bit of a rebirth this season. I mean, I think they're past the midway point of the season, right? Tonight, Louisville, if they're going to get a statement win along the line here, be a good place to start.
Absolutely. Well, we're in 16 games, and it's a, 32-game season? So like you said, actually, we're halfway there.
Yeah.
What better way to get it started than a home game against a very tough opponent, you know, who's coming in to try to get a victory. And as long as guys play hard, you know, play with energy and effort, you know, work together, we should come out on top. I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's just a situation where right now I'm still trying to find a number of wins that we will have by the end of the season, and I'm stuck on 15.
I was just going to go there. So
we were doing some math
We were doing some math last week, and I was just kind of looking it over to see what the stats were. So the only losing season in SU basketball history was 21-22, which, as we know, was one of the last years of Jim Boeheim's tenure. And we actually uncovered last week that I believe if they do come out with an overall record, losing record, under 500 this year, it'll be the only time that's happened in the
Jim Boeheim
Jim
era.
Boeheim era,
Yes,
aside from 21-22.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, and I'll look it up as we continue to talk, because there were certain stats and we did do some of the math, but and that was also, mind you, when they had 2 less wins than they do now, so that wouldn't be completely accurate. But no, it definitely, they have a hill to climb if they want to even get tied, end tied with the worst Jim Boeheim record he ever had. That's honest to God the point that they're at right now. But I also think that the team knows that.
Yeah.
And now it is a matter of them, like you said, just maybe getting off social media and honestly just starting to work cohesively together, start to win together. And one thing I will say, because this is just kind of an interview we came into a few days ago, Adrian Autry was actually at this community service event called Book Buddies.
Oh, yes.
I was going to say, you're probably familiar with that.
Yes.
Really cool program, what they're doing there.
Yes.
And one of our news anchors, Michael Benny from Channel 5, actually was asking him a couple Book Buddy related questions, threw in a couple basketball ones at the end. And it's funny, I think in a press conference setting, it's just a little bit different than when you happen to just be one-on-one with somebody. And I really felt like he spoke very candidly and gave a really long answer, essentially saying, hey, like when this team loses, there is nobody who is more upset about that than me. Yeah. Like I played here, I raised my family here, I live here. Like this community means a lot to me. And it was, I don't know, it just, that his entire answer on that really humanized him a little for me. Yeah. It's definitely easy when there's a coach to just start critiquing all the different things about what they're doing right and wrong from a coaching perspective. But when he said that, it did make me realize, hey, despite some of the recent failure, it's somebody who's really trying here and who really wants to give their best to the program. So I would definitely at least say that.
Yeah, and I know nobody likes this answer. This is never the popular, but he mentioned in that same interview when he was speaking to Michael Benny, I forget what the exact line was, but it was basically, the standard that was set before me with Jim Boeheim, who he called his mentor, was an insane standard. It was a crazy standard. And no, that's not an excuse, and that's not something that fans are going to accept as an excuse, but it is true. You're looking at a guy in Jim Boeheim who had 50-plus years experience doing this versus a guy in Adrian Autry who's been at this for a year and a half, a little less than 2 years. So it's not, Rome wasn't built in a day in that sense,
Absolutely. And also the days of coaches lasting 30 and 40 years are officially over.
Right.
Those days will never come back again. Like I said, back to it's all about what are you doing now, and that's what they want to see. And back to Adrian, being my teammate, great leader, always had the will to win, so I know him personally, and he doesn't like to lose. So, as long as he can figure out his style and his way on how he wants to do it, we just have to ride with it, and hopefully it goes well. Because if it doesn't, and I know next man up.
And I think you can see the frustration mounting with him, even when they're winning. The Georgia Tech game last week, I actually came back in the office and said this to you when I got back last Tuesday night, I believe. They're winning that game, and he's slamming his water bottle and screaming into the air. Like, I can just see that the frustration is mounting with him as well, and there's nobody who wants to turn this around more than he does.
Yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I found some of the numbers, and you guys will see, because obviously this was from 2 games ago, so some of it is not completely accurate, but I'll explain.
They have 2 more wins.
Yeah, at this point, they have 2 more wins. There was 16 games remaining at that point. There's 14 remaining now. The best case scenario could be 23-8, and I think that they're 8-8 now, so that's still true. Worst case, I put 7-24. That can't be true anymore because now they have 8 wins. I think they're looking for this, which is the middle ground. We knew that those probably wouldn't happen, but it just kind of helped to show the ceiling and the floor. 1 game over 500, they'd have 16-15. Which would mean at this point they need to win 7 more games. So if you think they can win 7 more games from this point until the end of the season, then they could end 16-15.
Which would avoid the worst record in the post-Boeheim era.
Correct.
By 1 game.
How do you feel? How would you feel about something like that? 16-15. Do you think that's reasonable? Or achievable?
I think it's achievable. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. But I'm an optimist, and I'm a positive optimist, and I'm going to stick on the positive side instead of being on the bad history side. How about that? But I hope they win more than 500 for sure.
I think it's important to point out JJ's back as well, right? JJ
Yes.
Starling was hurt for a month in December. He's back now. Both of his past 2 games, the 2 conference wins over Georgia Tech and Boston College, 20-plus points in both of those games. Really their spark, their catalyst. You can see it on the floor. I think it just comes down to them, right? Even if they are to hypothetically lose to Louisville tonight, well, then you got Notre Dame in the Dome on Saturday. Notre Dame's a team that you lost to earlier in the season in South Bend when JJ wasn't playing. That's a team you should beat. Notre Dame in the basement of the ACC. So, got to come back, got to bounce back with a win on Saturday.
Not the basement.
Absolutely, yeah. And what we don't want to happen is for, at the end of the season, going into the ACC tournament, that we don't get an invite.
I was just going to read my mind.
That's what we don't want to happen. So, we're rooting for our guys, and we hope the best for them.
Yeah, bottom 3 teams in the ACC, by the way, if you were not aware, do not get an invite to the ACC tournament in Charlotte, because I actually wasn't aware of that fact until last week when that started to become rumors and whispers and relevant to this program, which is unfortunate. But yeah, we'll see if hopefully Donnie Freeman can get back out there as well. His foot's been in a boot the last 2 games he has missed. So get everybody healthy, get everybody back out there, and you can only take it 1 game at a time,
Absolutely. And I also, this is very important, J.J. Starlings has to take more than 20 shots a game in order for us to, I think, have a chance.
Interesting.
Anything under 20, JJ, 12, 14, 20 or more, I think that will give us a better opportunity on having a successful season.
I like that. I think that's a cool stat. I'm going to keep that in mind now.
I look at it because, my average in Syracuse was 12. I took 12 or more shots a game, but it was an average of 12. If I took 20 to 25, oh yeah, you guys would have saw 30.
That's so
30
funny. Now I feel like we should start tracking the wins and losses based on that stat. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what he's able to do. But to your guys' point, those 2 wins, it's a big deal because now I'm looking at the standings, the ACC standings right now. There's like 7 teams below them. We were legitimately 2 games ago talking about, are they even going to go to the ACC tournament?
Right.
Like now, I want them to have a chance. Like just a chance. And I know how those tournaments work, but I really am a big believer in the fact that in March anything can happen.
Yes.
Like I just want to see them in this tournament, see them get that chance to compete. So whatever that takes, I think that needs to be the floor goal.
You know what I thought was interesting too? This is my parting thought. I'll leave you all with this.
Sure.
Last week in the locker room after the Georgia Tech game, I was talking to Eddie Lampkin, and he mentioned that, they only needed 1, the whole thing with the ACC wins, but he mentioned they're still trying to get to March, and they know they're a long way from it, and they know the losses were stacking up. But even for him to mention the term March Madness, to me that stuck out as they haven't lost that as the goal, though it seems really far away right now.
Yes. But let's start thinking about now. And because sometimes when you think about March and it's January, it'll throw you off. And you end up losing 5 in a row. So we're going to take it 1 game at a time, and we're going to hopefully get wins 1 game at a time.
I 100% agree with that, honestly, because I do feel like to me, the Syracuse fan Twitter cesspool at times,
Toxic environment.
At times, and I love y'all, you know that. But honestly, it could get a little Wild West out there, and it kind of does remind me, like when he's talking about this, it almost makes me think of like when you have almost like a weight loss goal. Like I feel like the Syracuse fan base on Twitter, at least, and some of the you'll never make it is like that like negative thought in your mind telling you can't do it. They're like, oh no, you're gonna lose. It's gonna be a losing season. But like then all of a sudden, if you get into that mindset, now you are losing 4, 5, 6, 7, getting further and further away. Absolutely. If you just focus on one little thing at a time, those goals seem more achievable. It's not, no, we're going to make it to March, even though you have it in the back of your head. You want to look skinny for the summer. You feel me? But if you're doing 1 game at a time, then you're focusing on little achievable goals. And all of a sudden, the big goal comes true. That's all I'm trying to say.
They need to win the games they should win. That's the most obvious statement of all time. You need to beat Notre Dame. You need to beat Boston College again, so on and so forth.
And a couple they shouldn't.
And a couple they shouldn't. If you surprise against a Louisville, a Duke here and there, you got to sprinkle some of those in as well.
Absolutely.
Sprinkle in a little Duke. Any final thoughts, anyone, before we head out?
Yes. Back to JJ.
20
to 25 shots a game. Trust me, my
Talking
guy.
to you, JJ.
20 to 25 shots a game. And consistent shots, nothing erratic or anything. Just play your game like you've been playing. I really enjoy watching JJ since he's been back. A little freelance game, and he's hitting shots that we need, and he's playing big. And I think that's going to be the key to our success is JJ, plain and simple.
Yeah, I think shot selection overall with this team is something that Autry's talked about a lot. Not necessarily with JJ, but just taking better shots.
Yes.
This is a team that, despite all the noise, really does have a lot of raw talent. But in this league and in the ACC, raw talent alone is not enough. They need to focus on the little things, because I think the little things make the big things, and put it all together the way they have for the past 2 games. There have been some times where they came out really strong and then lost it midway through. If they can continue to play a complete game, who knows what could happen? Yeah. That's the great part about sports.
You know what? Give me a little more Kyle Cuff, too. That's my controversial take of the week.
Player,
a little more Kyle Cuff.
All right. Yeah. All right. I love that take. Well, hey, everyone. Thanks so much, as always, for hanging out, hanging along. We will be here next week, generally recording on Tuesdays, and the episodes will drop either Tuesday night or Wednesday. So good luck to Syracuse men's basketball. We'll see you back here again next week.